It may not have been up when you first tried. Can you pass me that other pen, please?
And that could be.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. It's 5:30, Wednesday, June 15th, the Santa Ynez Community Service District regular board meeting. And if I could please have everybody rise for the flag salute. And Director Redfern, could you please lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. And to those in attendance, just briefly, I would like to introduce Tina Paddleford, who is our newest member of the board. Thank you. Okay, Wendy, if you would like to do roll call.
Director Redfern?
Here.
Director Paddleford?
Here.
Director Beard?
Here.
Director Jones?
Here.
Director Van Pelt?
He is here. I will ask him to unmute. Okay.
Yeah.
Bradley?
Oh, his camera.
Yes, can you hear me, Director Jones?
Yes, I can. We just did roll call and you are marked in attendance.
Thank you. I'm having a little connectivity issue, so when I can resolve them, I'll bring up my video, but I am here.
Well, it's a very lovely picture. We're fine. Okay, at this time, I will start with you, Director Van Pelt. Is there any public comment that you would like to make?
No public comment at this time. We will have some updates on the Ad Hoc Committee, but no public comment.
Okay, very good. Director Redfern. Director Paddleford, is there any public comment you would like to make?
No,
Director, okay, and my only one is to reiterate, welcome to our new board member. It's very nice to have you here. Okay, now I will go to public comments. Is there anyone who is here in public? And I don't see anyone on Zoom other than Director Van Pelt. Is there anyone who would like to make a comment regarding anything related to the district that is not on our agenda tonight? I see no one wants to, so we can move on from public comment. And we can go to the reports, beginning with our general manager, Mr. LeBrun.
Just brief written report tonight. Wendy did give the air conditioning repairman a call, but they will not be able to be here till tomorrow, but we kept the room as cool as we could all day, and I did a good job of that. And we did support here at the boardroom voting. This was a voting location, so it was nice to be able to support that effort. And our demographer request for proposals is out, and we have responses due at the end of the month, June 30th.
Very good.
That's all.
Okay, then I would like to move on to Mr. Battles, our legal counsel. Do you have a report this evening?
A few items to report briefly on. I attended California Association of Sanitation Agencies Attorney Committee. They meet 2 or 3 times, well, three or four times a year. Sometimes as many as 40 attorneys will be in attendance, and these are all attorneys from throughout the state that represent wastewater agencies. And we talk about new legislation, recent developments, just generally representing wastewater agencies. And there were 3 bills that I thought I would mention. The first one is AB 2536, and this would require a local agency to make specific additional findings when it approves a rate increase, like a connection fee or capacity charge increase. And the way the requirement will be fulfilled is by having part of the record before the agency included in the agenda packet, the actual fee study that a new charge is based on. So that these are bills that have been introduced but not passed, but if it passes, that'll be a new requirement. Another bill that was introduced would change the standards for indoor water use. There's a agency organization, I guess it's the Department of Water Resources, that establishes sort of a standard for what is assumed to be the water use for individual residences. And it's around 50 gallons per capita daily. And this bill would require that to be reduced to 47 gallons per day per capita by 2030, and then down to 42 gallons per day. By 2030, it goes down to 47, and then by 2030 by, what are the different dates? Okay, it's 2025, it goes down to 47, 2030, it goes down to 42, and that's potentially of impact to the district, because to the extent you've got more water conservation, less flow coming from residences, you've got less water in your pipes, which means, you know, a good thing because you're paying for a smaller share of the water at Solvang, but you also maybe have problems with not sufficient flow to carry the waste. And then the final one is, some of you might have seen markings on the street before a project is undertaken, identifying where the utilities are, and they're different colors. That in this area is under Dig Alert. There are different names for it in different areas of the state. Safe Dig in one area, and that kind of thing. Currently, non-pressurized sewer lines and non-pressurized storm drains are exempt, so you're not required to go out and mark your line when you're contacted by Dig Alert. Operations staff may know whether or not they actually do that as a practical matter. I think some agencies do it, some sewer agencies do it, even if they're not required to, because they don't want a piling being driven through their pipe. But this law would change the exemption so that sewer lines, including non-pressurized sewer lines, would be subject to the marking requirement if this bill goes into effect.
What's the number on that one? Yeah.
That one is SB 1345.
Thank you. Be of interest in the district.
What was the number for that?
Oh, sorry.
Water usage?
That one, I couldn't get the date right on. SB 1157. That's all I have.
Very good. Then we shall go to Ms. Berry, Secretary Treasurer report.
All I have is we finished our initial audit for the 21-22 fiscal year.
Okay. And then for committees, Director Van Pelt and Director Redfern met. Newly established ad hoc committee discussing latent powers. Would you like to report on that?
Yeah, we got together. We both read, we thought that it's important that we get on top of this. We discussed the two roundabouts that we have. And what mess that looks like. But yeah, we met and we have. Bradley.
Sorry about that, Director Redfern. Just to add a little more context, Director Jones, I believe you were aware of it as well. As there was a surprise and a few roundabouts were put on Cuesta Street. And, for local residents, especially in the downtown corridor, this was something that I was unaware of. And that really sparked us to want to refocus some of our efforts on our latent powers in certain areas. And, I think we have to dig deeper. And I believe last meeting, we wanted to put it on the agenda just to formalize this process because we feel that there's certain maybe aspects of our community when it comes to safety that are kind of getting out of our hands and not being communicated to us. So we did meet, and I think we had a very constructive meeting. And I think it's something that we have to speak more, broadly as a board, and to see what all board members want to pursue.
I agree with you, and I would also like the ad hoc committee possibly to sit down with someone from Supervisor Hartman's office. And also, as the board talks about this more, there are things that staff know, and it's just part of your daily business. Staff was aware of the roundabouts, but it wasn't anything that concerned us in the sense that our county is in control of the road work. But that's the sort of thing that as a board, we would want to talk about when we talk about latent powers, sidewalks, lights. So I'm glad that you guys are pursuing this, and we have a new general manager coming on board, and this may be part of the big picture and the forming a vision for the board. I would think this would be a big part of it.
Right.
Anything else on this committee before we move on to the next item?
Yeah, one other was previously we reported that we were interested in the beautification and some of those powers. After taking direction from Mr. LeBrun, that we're really going to drop that aspect right now, at least from our site. We don't want to get too broad on what we believe we need to focus on. So I just want to update that. I think when it comes to the ad hoc committee, we're really focused on more parks and recreation, and also when it comes to safety, street maintenance, and kind of related fields. So that's one update, is kind of the drop of the beautification at this time. But again, the board is going to be able to give us direction as a whole.
Okay, well, I really appreciate you guys taking time to do this. I think it's important for our little town. Okay, so other meetings that happen committee-wise, Frank and I have met several times, including with Nate, our labor attorney, and so we will address those issues when we go into closed session. And then the meetings that Director Beard and I have had, Mr. Dreisler is here, and we will talk about that when we get to the agenda item. So also welcome to you. Okay, so if there are no further committee reports.
Did we do treasurer?
Treasurer?
Yeah.
Yes, Wendy gave a
Yeah,
report.
okay, I thought so, but I was just.
It was a short one. So on the consent agenda, it would be approval of the regular meeting minutes of May 18th, approval of the special meeting minutes June 8th, and approval of disbursements May 13th through June 10th. We have all had our packet and an opportunity to look at those, but if there's any questions that you have, now would be the time to raise them, or any corrections. I get thrown a little bit. I keep thinking I find a correction, but I'm just reading it wrong. On the part, on the ad hoc committee, when it talks about Mr. Drive, I'm like, that's not me and Director Beard. I'm like, oh, wrong committee. The name threw me. Yes.
I did have a question. It's about a small item here. See if I can see it. I didn't bring my glasses. Oh, here it is. Site One Landscape Supply, which gave them $211. Do we have a landscape service?
No, it's for the all-around landscape to buy parts for the IWAS stations for the reservation.
Oh, okay.
That's a relief, huh?
I was just going to say I'd fire them because the front looks terrible. It's not even worth $211.
Saving on water on the front.
Good question. Are there any other questions or changes before I seek a motion to approve the consent agenda? In that case, would somebody like to make a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Director Beard has made a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Director Redfern has seconded. Wendy, if you could do roll call.
We have a motion by Director Beard and a second by Director Redfern to approve the consent agenda as presented. We'll do a roll call vote. Director Redfern.
Aye.
Director Beard.
Aye.
Director Jones.
Aye.
Director Van Pelt.
Aye.
Director Cataford.
I'm sorry.
You can abstain if you want.
Yeah, I'm gonna abstain.
And that's fine. I would just like, it's a learning thing, and I've said this before, but Rick, can you explain when it is appropriate to abstain versus on things like minutes? Don't mean to bore people in the audience, but this was something I learned as a new board member, that you can vote even on minutes from a meeting that you haven't been on. You can make a motion or second if you have confidence that the minutes are okay. And when does somebody abstain normally? When-
Yeah, there are two issues. One is minutes in general. What approval do you need? What's the procedure for approving minutes? And surprisingly, minutes can be approved just by the board president saying, the minutes, I find them to be in order unless someone objects. It's very informal how you go about approving minutes, and there's not a requirement, as you mentioned, for you to be at the meeting to approve the minutes from that meeting. It makes sense that you would abstain because you have no way of knowing whether they really are accurate, but there's no requirement that you abstain. So that's with respect to minutes. With respect to abstaining in general, abstaining is generally discouraged because as an elected or appointed director, you're expected to participate in all of the decisions, and depending on where the vote is, your abstention could end up being treated as an affirmative vote because there aren't enough votes against it. But as a matter of policy, directors are encouraged to vote on all issues rather than abstaining, unless you've got a conflict of interest of some kind, in which case then you have to abstain, or if you've just got a personal stake in something without having a technical conflict, you might elect to abstain there just to avoid an appearance of impropriety, or because you can't be objective and unbiased and have the best interest of your constituents in mind. So
That's helpful, and I'm not trying to single anyone out because that was a question I had starting. And one of Director Redfern's very first meetings, we had an important vote, and he voted no and explained it was because he didn't have enough information to vote yes. And I thought, I like this guy. But anyway, I'm not trying to criticize you for abstaining, but I just thought it would be a nice little learning opportunity.
yeah, and it is common to see directors abstain from approving minutes when they weren't at the meeting, and I generally don't make an issue of that because I think
Who cares?
It's not unreasonable.
No, not at all.
And they're not advocating the responsibilities by doing that.
Now, and I said that I was going to keep the meeting moving along tonight, and then I go off on that tangent. But I just felt, I really want everybody to learn together. We all are,
I learned something back here.
Oh, well, yay. Okay, now we will go on to something a little more pressing than that. And let's go to the action items. And 7A is regarding the public hearing. And with Ms. Berry, are you going to be the one who gets the report on that?
Sure. So we need to open the public hearing,
Okay, the public hearing.
5:48.
Okay, and it's on resolution 2212. And
Electing to have the sewer fees and charges collected on the tax roll.
yes,
Filing the report of related to such fees and charges for the fiscal year 22-23. Do we have any public comments, objections? So no.
I see none.
And there were no written objections or anything we see before the meeting.
Okay, then in that case, we can move on to the second
We have
part.
to close the public hearing.
Oh, close the public hearing at
5:49.
5:49
Okay.
and go to resolution 2212, which is a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Santa Ynez Community Service District adopting report on sewer fees and charges to be collected on the tax roll for fiscal year 2022-2023. Now, do you do another staff report or is it the same one?
It's another one.
Okay, let's go to that.
So on May 15th, your board approved resolution 22-11, electing to have the sewer fees and fees and charges collected on the tax roll, directing the preparation and filing of the report and noticing the place for the hearing and fixing the time for it. So I noticed it in the paper on May 26th, June 2nd, and June 9th. And I have the report almost completed. And it is due to the county. They like to have it done early by the July 27th. So my goal is to get it to them by their first deadline. If not, it's like August 8th.
The actual tax roll report that where the district, Wendy outlines what each parcel will be charged on.
By 8 p.m.
It's something we do every year.
Yes. Okay, so with that, is there any discussion among the board or any public comment here? I don't see public comment. Any discussion before I ask for a motion?
I still think it's a good idea to go back to the old system for a year, let people know what they're paying monthly.
I agree with you, and I made that statement my first round of this as a board member. And I think it is going to be something that we discuss as we address the bigger picture of things. And once again, Mr. Dreisler, I keep wanting to call you Locke, so I'll get the Dreisler thing going now. That I think that there are going to be a lot of discussions with a new person at the helm as general manager and our board. And that's something that I think is definitely worth discussing. But for our purposes here, we're going to get this done this year and get our money from the county tax roll. So is there a motion to approve resolution 2212?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion from Director Van Pelt. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Director Beard has seconded. Wendy, can we have a roll call vote?
Okay, we have a motion by Director Van Pelt and a second by Director Beard to adopt resolution 2212. The resolution of the Board of Directors of the San Ynez Community Services District overruling objections and adopting report on sewer fees and charges to be collected on the tax roll for fiscal year 2022 to 2023. We'll do a roll call vote. Director Jones?
Aye.
Director Van Pelt?
Aye.
Director Beard?
Aye.
Director Redfern?
No,
Director Paddleford?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, very good. We will move on now to 7C, which is discussion and consideration. Oh, no. Out of agency, excuse me. B, 7B, consideration and approval of out of agency agreement for 2517 Janet Acres Way and adoption of 2213, approving out of agency agreement. And for that, we will get the report from our GM, Mr. LeBrun.
So I'll just take it briefly, really to recognize Wendy here to my left and her, your board heard from, excuse me, I don't have your name. Mr. Pace. Mr. Pace, that's right. Just a month ago in requesting your board's directing staff to accept an application and facilitate that. And really, it surprised me a bit that we're able to get it back so quickly and getting letters of support from Solvang and the Department of Health and recognizing the sewer and the need here because of the septic system abandonment. So with that, I'll turn to Wendy, who really put so much of this together to bring this out of agency agreement to.
All right. So Mr. Pace filled out the LAFCO questionnaire that we need to submit, along with the adoption of the out of agency agreement and the resolution approving that out of agency agreement. Mr. Pace has paid a $2,000 deposit to cover engineering costs. Once we get the approval from LAFCO, we'll have to do the engineering to study the line and to attach it to our line that runs right in front of Janet Acres. And you will be required to pay a $1,650 fee for the staff work to cover that as well. We did receive the letter from EHS and did receive the letter of support from Solvang, like Mike mentioned. So those are the two requirements that LAFCO requested that we submit with the application. So it's back to the board for your discussion.
Okay. any questions or comments from the board on this?
I suspect that we'll probably get more requests from Jan and Acres. Is there a way we can streamline this so that
Well,
without holding up his project, is there a way to streamline?
prior to the new council in Solvang, we were actually going to have a meet and greet at the church with all the Janet Acres residents. That didn't happen because of the turnover with the council. The big plan, the MSR with LAFCO, they're going to be looking at Janet Acres. So we can, the wastewater committee can contact Solvang and ask to, start dialogue with them on that.
Or I think the MSR is the right process,
Yeah.
that municipal services review with LAFCO, Jan and Acres, the reason we had to get Solvang's permission, I think you understand, they're within Solvang's
Right.
sphere of influence. Maybe they need to be moved into the districts. That would streamline the overall effort the best.
They were in our spirit. It's like a back and forth kind of thing. And this is another thing I'm excited to have Mr. Dreisler come on board, because once you start working with people, Jan and Acres is one of those, that's why the church meet and greet would have been good. And people change, different buyers come in, but there was a lot of resistance to sewer at one time, even recently. So this gentleman, I'm very happy for you that it sounds like this is gonna happen. But it's gonna be an issue that is gonna come up again.
Right, this is gonna be an issue. Is there a way to, because I know part of the problem before was getting the connection through Caltrans.
Right, and I don't, Mr. Pace has talked to Caltrans. We're just, with Caltrans and connecting to our sewer line there, we are just held to the Caltrans standards based on their speed limits.
Right.
Right there, down the hill, once you pass Entrance Road, it's more, I guess, it's a higher speed, so it's a little more requirement. So they have a new employee at Caltrans that does the permitting, and he didn't get the pushback that we did with the other employee, and that could have been, who knows what that happened. It could have been, the property owner and the two, they just, who knows.
Right.
That's an encroachment permit,
Yeah.
just to get this single connection type of thing, but really doesn't tell us that the overall Jan and Acres can make it easier. Now.
Right.
But hopefully his path, hopefully he doesn't hit that same hurdle, because it's still ahead. Right now, what's ahead is your board's, support for this application to LAFCO. And then LAFCO will make a decision, and if it's in support, then Mr. Pace will be out to get the actual work done. And the previous 2 or 3 folks, 2 outside user agreements with Jannon that your board approved 2 years, 4, whatever it was. They got that far and then hit this hurdle at Caltrans with the encroachment permit.
Right.
We have no control over whether that hurdle will exist when he gets to it or not. It doesn't look like it right now. We hope not.
Yeah.
There's one other issue that we have there,
Mhm.
and that's that line in that section has a lot of gas buildup in it, hydrochloric acid, which has been eating manholes since when I worked there. And we have never attached, there's no homes attached to it in that area. And so I'm wondering if we're gonna have to put some sort of gas trap or whatever for your service, because gas will travel up that
Could be
line
an event.
and you'll have it venting out of your roof, which would not be good.
And those will be the types of things that are looked at as we get into the engineering, once we get the LAFCO's approval and the engineering connection, and
We should be thinking.
we've got the district engineer in the back of the room, be one of the things he'll look at, and that $2,000 deposit for engineering review by the district will look at, and I think now with some insight for just some particular problems for that.
And the 2 prior properties on Janet Acres, they were gonna do a low pressure system with a backflow device to prevent that.
As far as
my
the-
only question is are we going to be back here with the 2 other, and keep having to do the same connection? Is it easier to do one line up
Well,
and then they can connect to?
Well, they can't do a line without approval from the Marcelino Water District. So that's a whole different ballgame there. But really it's, the MSR is supposed to be done through by April of 2023.
Right.
They've already said they're looking at Janet Acres, Los Olivos, Ballard, and West San Ynez. So have to stay on top of the MSR process and be present at the meetings and be able to, bring it back to the board for approval or guidance or
The
direction.
big discussion's going to happen. It's
Yeah,
not
I know it's
gonna
gonna happen,
like happen.
but I don't want to hold up this project.
Yeah.
No, of course not. But a lot of changes in the valley, and this is going to be something that is going to be part of that. And we will all get to work together with different agencies that maybe haven't worked together for a while. So this is good.
Yeah.
Okay, so
We did put together a conceptual sewer study for Janet Acres for the entire development, just kind of high level. Here's some options, so we've got that.
We, being the district, did that in the past?
Yeah.
Such a study,
That studies.
and that's the most streamlined way to do it, is through, bringing it into our services boundary, and so we've got a planning level, it sounds like a sewer plan for Janet Acres, helps us put big ticket numbers on things and talk about capacity needs before we take on this.
Right.
Yep, coming down the road. But
Okay.
not tonight. Tonight, we're gonna try to support this application to LAFCO.
So with that, is there a motion to approve this resolution?
Is there time for public comment?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I thought I'd already done that. Yes, public comment, please.
Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I do know a little bit about the whole Caltrans issue because my neighbor next door was one of the people that got involved in it prior to him buying the property, bought it from a woman who owned it, who just got frustrated. And I think the other guy at 2401, his issue was, it was so far down that hill, I don't think he ever understood what the issues are. Caltrans will give you a permit, you just gotta go through a process.
Right.
And you gotta have barriers, you gotta have flagmen, you gotta block the road off, all other kind of issues. I contacted TR Consulting out of Santa Barbara. They do this all the time. It's not a big deal. I thought, well, maybe I can run the line way over here because you'd be up there. It doesn't matter. We're on a job in Carpenter. We're 20 feet off the road. You still got to put a barrier. You still got to have a flagman. You still got to control the traffic. So because of the speed limits in that area. So that's not a real big deal. And for those two people, you don't have to worry about them connecting because my understanding is you have to have a failed septic system in order to connect. They don't. They have brand new septic systems. And most of the other people there, a lot of them, their septic systems are in their front yards. So it'd be a nightmare to go from the front yard all the way back through the yard somehow to get down to the highway. So there's a bunch of different kind of issues there. And there may be 2 or 3 that are to the east of where I am that might be able to do that. But most of them I'm aware of, they have their septic systems in their front yards. So from a long-term standpoint, there's a whole lot of people in Janet Acres that are probably gonna have their septic systems. So my neighbor had his tank fail, but his septic system's in front yards. He just replaced his tank. Things are fine. But then I did talk to TR Consulting and I had submitted a map to you for LAFCOM, 7 copies, and I'll give you a revised 7 copies because according to TR Consulting, their intention would be to bore down to your line, not to trench or dig with the backhoe or anything. They have a boring machine that installs a line right behind it. So there's a pretty big company out of Santa Barbara that does this stuff all the time. And you can look them up. It's TR Consulting out of Santa Barbara. And so I'd like to submit this to the board secretary with this revised thing. The length would be about 175 feet from my backyard down to the highway. Only 25 feet of that is actually offside my property line. Most of it's coming from the back of my house to the back of the property. So I'll give you this revised copy because I submitted to a different one.
Okay, perfect.
And I tried making it more legible and clearer. The last one was black and white, that didn't work so good.
We make the connection.
Question, Director Redfern?
We normally make the connection to the line.
Pardon?
The district normally would make that connection.
Well, they'll bring it down to, they'll bore down with the pipe down there. We have to have clean outs every 100 feet.
Right.
And so that's something that your consulting would work with your engineer to figure out how they actually make that connection. So when they need to block the traffic, they can do that in an efficient way.
Now that answers the question. It wasn't clear that we were involved in the hookup and we have to be.
I believe so.
Yes,
I think your engineer would
Yes.
have to work with Kira and say, here's how this is gonna come down. You work with their engineers and.
And our guy,
To
our
figure out
staff.
how that actually happens.
Yes, that's correct, but again, yeah, it'll, engineering will review and approve any of the plans for the district, you know, and facilities, if they'll be dedicated to the district or not, but those are all minutia and process will go outside, really outside your board's understanding, but just the physical connection on this one, maybe, you know, unless you work for the district, but the physical connection on this one will be inspected and observed by the district staff, but I don't know that we can maybe depend on the complexity of the connection.
I've seen them actually do this boring, it's a mine bore that they can actually do what they do.
With, yeah,
And installs the pipe and everything.
which we
They can
don't.
actually make it do this kind of. Gotta miss that gas line down at the bottom of the hill. Yeah. One of the things I did get the public health department's notice to correct the substandard septic system. And I thought it was interesting that it said, please be advised that sewer service is available within 200 feet. Homeowners must connect to sanitary sewer when any changes to their septic system requires a permit. I thought, well, that's interesting. I wouldn't have known that had I not got this. It was like, oh, I have to connect, is what they're basically telling me. Really? And there was another comment in here that I did call Jason Johnson, the supervising environmental health specialist. He says, all the work must be completed within 30 days of this notice. And I told him, I said, excuse me, but I still have LAFCO to go. I've already been told it's 3 months plus maybe to get a Caltrans permit. I don't think it's gonna happen in 30 days. He says, we're not gonna enforce it. He says, just please make sure that when it's approved from the San Diego Valley Community Service District, that he gets a letter saying that that's been done. LAFCO's done. And make sure LAFCO sends him a letter to make sure that's done. And when I get the permit from Caltrans, they should make sure we get that too. So they just want to be kept on board and make sure that their file is correct.
and that it's in process.
Yeah. He just wants to know that it's moving, it's going in the right direction. And the good news is my septic system is working just fine.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Pace? I enjoyed hearing your input, especially on what you observed going on as far as neighbors and interest in septic, because it is just one of those areas that becomes an issue. And I'm glad that we're doing our municipal service review and we can all start thinking about big picture stuff here.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the reminder. Now I will ask if there is a motion to approve this resolution. 2213, approving the out-of-agency agreement with Mr. Pace.
I'll make the motion.
Director Redfern has made a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Director Paddleford has seconded. So Ms. Berry could do a roll call vote.
Okay, we'll do we have a motion by Director Redfern and a second by Director Pallaford to approve, to adopt resolution 22-13, approving the out-of-agency agreement, approving the preliminary environmental review form, and adopting the resolution. We'll do a roll call vote. Director Redfern.
Aye.
Director Pallaford.
Aye.
Director Beard.
Aye.
Director Jones.
Aye.
Director Van Pelt.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Come in one last time.
Yes.
Do I need to write a check?
Sure.
Okay.
We want to.
Yeah, I'll do it.
And then I'll have you write the checks to LAFCO,
Okay,
and then we'll submit the checks and everything to LAFCO.
sounds great. I'll come see you tomorrow morning. Thank you all so very much. And my applause to this woman. She does a great job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Jones.
Yes.
Yeah, can I ask a question? It's more of a general question to the board and maybe Wendy as well. Is there a portal or is there somewhere that residents of Jen Acres can go to receive information about the sewer connectivity and such? You know, does Solving offer anything? Do we offer anything for these residents to where it's again, it's more of maybe a fax page
of where they can find additional information?
I'm going to direct that to Wendy because I don't know that that's on our webpage. I haven't seen it. But once again, Janet Akers is in the Solvang sphere of influence. But I think your question is good because, you know, that is a smart gentleman that was able to navigate this in a way that a lot of people probably would have been more frustrated. So where would they go? Do they start with the county? Where would, if somebody from Janet Akers called you, where would you direct them to start doing their own
I
research?
would direct them, I would tell them the process and direct them to solving. And tell them that because when you, if you Google, like if somebody Googles, you know, ambulance services, most of the time we pop up first because I get all kinds of phone calls for all kinds of things. So usually they call us first. So I would go over the process, have them talk to LAPCO, have them talk to Solvang, and then come back and talk to us.
I do think it's good for all of us as board members, and I try and do it, but just this question makes me want to go back and review more stuff on the website and not just what I'm going for, because you know, that is very helpful. And then people, you can say, oh, it's on www, look it up.
Well, no, Director Jones, to add, I mean, to create a link and then a landing page with a fact section, it could be extremely simple. And if people, even though we're not, I understand it's not in our sphere of influence, but I find it to probably be very helpful because at one time, Janet Akers, from my understanding, was in our sphere of influence. So I would like to, you know, talk about this in the future about how we can produce a very simple one-page landing page off of a link of our CSD website just for Janet Aker residents, because I think there's a lot of myths out there as well that we can help dispel. Because I'm sure that there's a lot of disinformation out there. Not only people seeking information, but there's also people just trying to get the facts. So I think it would be advantageous for our CSD and our board to have a kind of a fact section to help some of the residents. That's my only point in this suggestion.
I love it, and I don't know if we would need to agendize that or just direct staff to look in, not just Janet Akers, but you talk about people calling for ambulance because we have services, community services, any service that people are getting from getting their hair cut to calling an ambulance, they call our service district. So a landing page would be very nice to say what we do and things that are that come up regularly, like Janet Akers or other areas that aren't in our sphere of influence. Mention that we serve, this is our district. If you live in a different district, contact this person. But I like the idea of a facts page.
We do have some questions on the website, and I do believe the first question is, how do I contact the water district? So then you click on it and it says call 688-6015. So we can expand on that.
Well, with that same idea, that's our most common thing, is folks trying to find the water district. But the idea, staff's taking the direction, I think, and you're welcome to continue with it, but I think we've got the idea of a fact and some link pages on the website to help people that are looking for something that we may not give, you know, but we can certainly give them better direction. And then if in doubt, you call Wendy because she's become the community go-to on, you know, within the services. You know,
well, and once
different
again,
services.
we've got Mr. Dreisler coming on board, and he's bringing experience that he has picked up over the years. But I think that's a really good suggestion, Director Van Pelt. Okay, well, with that, we will move on to 7C, which is a discussion and consideration of engineers' report on sewer line settlement investigation techniques. This is something that has come up in our discussion. And so we'll get the staff report, but then I would also like to defer to Mr. Redfern also.
I'll come up and answer questions.
Right, I'll just give a brief introduction. Mike Kilburn, our district engineer. we had a number of questions coming out of the end of our Horizon Drive project, and then in December, we finished that project last August, signed off on the construction contract. And then in December, received we see quite a bit of rain there in throughout December. It was one of the wettest on record. I'm sorry, not one of the wettest.
No.
So we got some rain in
The
December,
wettest of the
and then
year.
we had settlement among the trench trace that went across private property and our easements that we purchased. And it was significant settlement. And it was February timeframe that the contractor came back and we did just superficial repairs. But the questions have continued to come up. Director Redfern most pointedly, but I think everyone has the question. Are there still voids in that trench? Did all the settlement happen, or are we going to see more problems happen in the future? And in particular, we have a 1-year warranty period from the time we signed off and accepted that work by our contractor there last year. I turned to the district engineer, Mike, and asked him, could you overview what techniques are available for going out and doing an investigation whereby we might be able to prove up some defect in this construction that happened? Because I think that's what we want to know. Is there a defect that is going to come get us?
That's
Maybe not.
part of it. That's kind of like the after effect. But the first deal was when we didn't know, I didn't know, because I don't know this stuff, about the slurry being required that added cost. And so, and as we talked, our native soil has some specific things about it. So in the future, we are very interested in making sure that the design takes that into account, and we don't have to worry about how we investigate to find if there's a problem. We would like to not have a problem. So Director Redfern, you're smarter than me about this stuff.
This is excellent what you put together. I enjoyed reading it. I like this line that says, in general, trench settlement usually occurs due to poor compaction procedures, which has kind of been what's happened in the district before.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a way to test it that you didn't, I don't think you have here. And that is, we can just flood the damn thing again. We can basically put soaker hoses on it for 2 days. And if it doesn't slide, it's good.
Yeah, I did actually think about that, but I didn't know if that would be a.
I think it's a real simple system. We
I
don't
think
have
it's
to-
brilliant. I hadn't thought of it. I love it.
It's an easy system. We'll let the installers pay for the water. It'll tell us if it's good or not.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think I had mentioned in there, we wait for the next rainstorm, but
We don't have time to wait for the rainstorm, and we don't want to be stuck with it.
Yeah, so, yeah, that'll definitely, if there's more fines down there's more voids down there, and you flood it and you get that water to penetrate the soil all the way down to that pipe. So,
And we can put it directly, you can put a soaker line right directly on the trench line, so it's not flooding everything.
yeah.
I would be okay with the district paying for it. I don't know that I would
No,
even.
why should we pay for it?
Well, because
Well,
we're
what
the
I
one
would
that
say-
wants to know if the work's good. The people who did the work said, there's no problem here. Why
What's
should
it
we have to
gonna
pay
cost
for
to
that?
do it?
2 days of water could today's be several $100s.
Well, I'm not gonna fret over a couple $100 to make
I
sure
don't
I'm
know why
not
we
stuck.
should have to do it.
I'd
Well,
hit
we
them
want
with,
the results.
here's what I would do. We'll pay for it up front and then hit them with the bill once if it fails.
All right, I'm good with that.
Yeah, I think that's a nice, and maybe,
I mean, I'm not gonna, what are we gonna put a 2,500 gallon tank out there to fill it with water? Because
We are gonna be buying a bunch of soaker hose, I can tell
Right.
you that.
what's it gonna cost? $1,000? I'd rather pay the $1,000 up front and know we don't
I
have
only
a
come up with
problem.
one good idea a year, so. you got it. The rest of it's yours.
well, I would love for them to pay for the soaker hose and water just because, but, I think the way to get it done and not wait for rain, I really like that idea. And we will catch it before the 1 year is up, or it's like, no, look, it's fine. The backfill worked.
What's
Take
it
your
take-
soaker
what's it take
hose
to
and-
rent a 2,500 gallon tank, fill it with water, have it filled with water from one of the trucks or have a truck and lay soaker hoses down there and let it do it, because we're not gonna be able to use her water.
Well, right, and
Or
and whoever,
you
anyone.
offered to pay their water bill for the month. Period.
Yeah,
I mean, you're still,
I don't
because
know.
if you
I
get a
think
truck in there, then you are costing a lot of money.
I would direct staff to come up with the
The
most
truck could be
efficient
on the
way to
street.
do the water test.
Right, the
Because,
truck could, the,
But I would like to see it tested from where it goes off, out of the slurry, the whole damn way.
I'm in agreement with
I
you.
totally agree. What do you think of that?
I think it's a reasonable option, so you can get permission from the homeowner. I guess you've got.
We don't
easement
need
in
to.
there, so,
We
yeah.
have an easement, but this homeowner has been difficult in the past. The least impact to her would be better.
Yeah, and I'd say, some of the other options that I kind of laid out here are a lot more invasive.
Right.
Right.
So, and like you said, you're gonna get your answers.
No, but I like this. I'm gonna keep this part. I'm gonna unclip this
So-
and keep it.
Any other comments from staff?
We would just probably have to replace the wood chips and stuff. It's like something, I mean,
It's not, it's a soaker hose. It's not gonna,
Yeah,
it's not like having gushing. If we have to replace the wood chips, we have to replace the wood chip. What's that?
but it shouldn't float.
$500?
No further comments from staff. And we can work with the district engineer. And
Yeah.
come up with
However-
something to go across that entire length and soak it. I think we'll talk about it, but as far as going with a standalone tank versus hooking up to someone's water, I think it would probably be easier to seek permission on the water and we can read meters and pay for water or whatever we can.
Yeah.
But we'd have to work out with agreement there. I think councils, we have an easement for access and maintenance and inspection of our line. This is an inspection, so we'd be able to achieve access on this. So we'll look
I mean,
at it.
I threw out the water tank as a suggestion because, this particular homeowner was not very
I do think
easy to
that,
get along with or easy to work with, and that might eliminate some headache.
I do think that it needs to be monitored every few hours, maybe every 4 hours or something, to make sure we haven't reached the water capacity where it starts to flood. Or,
Right.
so that might
Run on
require somebody coming in the evening or nighttime and checking it, to make sure we're not making a mess somewhere we're not planning on.
Good.
Whichever way is easiest to work out, staff can figure that out.
And I would like, if we could get it done in the next 30 days.
Right.
Because,
We'll bring a report back to your
Yeah.
board next month and we'll check on the warranty expiration. Do you remember offhand, Rick? when you-
November.
Yeah.
Say again?
There's substantial
November.
completion was.
November? Okay, I was thinking August. I think we're on.
Okay.
I was thinking a tighter timeline, but either way,
Yeah,
it's a little breezy, but
well,
our warranty's good to November, but we'll move on this.
Okay.
and report back next month.
okay. Don't
That
want to
sound good?
lollygag, but the 30 days was when I was thinking that, we got to get this done before August.
We'll bring a
Okay.
report back though. I mean, we've got work to do here to figure this out and make an approach. And if we're not rolling, we'll have a report as to what our plan is.
And we will also then have the benefit of knowing what it's like as we expand sewer services, working with native soil. We'll probably learn some things. We probably already have learned some things. Do you have anything or any questions for, it's Kilgore,
Kilborn.
Kilborn. That's why I call you Mike. Okay, Kilborn.
Yeah.
Okay. Lock it in there. Okay, does anyone else have any questions or do you have any comments?
No, I mean, I guess I kind of laid it all out here, so I didn't know if I was going to go through this with you guys today or not, but it sounds like you guys read through it. Yeah, so if there's any other specific questions, I can answer them, but I kind of worked through this with my CM guys and I reached out to a couple of geotech engineers to get their thoughts and opinions. Basically, we'll put together, so.
It was a very big, expensive project for a very small district. And
Yes.
we are going to be growing. And so, we definitely want to learn.
We want it right.
Yes, we want to learn so we don't have to learn the hard way. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, for future projects, you know, obviously the slurry backfill on the roads is basically you're gonna get your compaction no matter what, so that's why we didn't have issues in the roadway, but for future projects that veer off into, you know, native soil areas, we'll have some more strict requirements and guidelines in the specs. The district's regular specs have kind of limited technical information on what to do in non-paved areas, so.
Well, we appreciate you putting the work into this. And I'm always happy to see you. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so now we move on to our big item, 7D here, appointment of general manager, approval of employment agreement. And on that, I will go to Mr. LeBrun to give us the staff report.
And before he gets started, you have the contract in front of you. Yours is in your packet to David. If you have paperwork in your spot, that's the agreement that you need to look at. It might not, it's not in your packet, it was on the table.
Oh, I see right here, you're talking about, okay.
And we may need to, Rick may need to address this. We may need to go to closed session briefly or delay this approval of the general manager's contract till after our closed session. So your board has one final chance to look at that contract in closed session. Is that right, Rick? Is that
Right. There are two closed session items on the agenda that deal with the general manager's hiring and his contract and his compensation and benefits. And so you have the opportunity to go into closed session if you think there's any need to discuss those items in closed session, but you don't have to do that. If there are not issues to discuss, then you can simply act under item D here. You're not allowed to discuss compensate the director's compensation, I'm sorry, the general manager's compensation in closed session. Anyway, what you can do is the second closed session item is give direction to your negotiator regarding compensation. If that's something you want to do.
Hang on, you guys, I want to hear what Mr. Battles is explaining, just that last part again. So I don't see a need to be in closed session since the pay thing is public. So explain to me again the reason I might want to go in closed session.
If you would want to go into closed session if you wanted to further discuss the hiring of the general manager candidate, or if you wanted to give direction to the designated representatives regarding further negotiations on compensation or benefits.
Well, then let me turn to the other people on the board here. Have you all had an opportunity to look at this?
I don't have the paperwork right. Yeah.
Okay,
Wendy's trying to
and
find it.
we discussed it. I can't remember. I can't remember if David and I reported after our negotiation.
Here we go.
Okay. But I feel like the board is all very supportive of who we have hired and what his compensation is, but I'm waiting if somebody wants to talk to the committee again to renegotiate something. Now would be the time to speak up.
And my recollection is that you did report in closed session that the negotiations were essentially complete, and that all the terms have been agreed to on both sides. So unless something's changed, I'm not aware of a need for a closed session.
I don't think there was any changes, was there?
No, so.
Not since your board saw it last. There's just been really some back and forth with Mr. Dreisler and Rick and just getting, but no substantive changes. Staff.
Okay, then let's just keep this open session and let's handle this item D, is it? Yeah.
I just have one quick question here. I have Exhibit A release provisions. It's not filled in. We don't do that right now, or is that?
No, those are the provisions that would be included in a release
Right.
if the GM's employment agreement were terminated and he was paid severance pay.
Right.
Then these would be the terms that would apply.
Right, and it's up the top, there's no mounting there.
Yeah, that's
It's,
because we don't know.
but it's already
the same
stipulated in the contract how much.
It's just sample language that would be
Yeah.
included, and we don't know at this point what that severance amount might be.
But we very much want you to be here a long time.
That's right.
So
The longer
don't
you
let this,
stay- The longer you stay, the bigger the severance.
That actually is not the case.
Yes.
Not true.
So in terms of comments, so this is an employment agreement, much like the one with the last GM. And I believe that the new GM is in agreement with respect to all of the terms and provisions, except under section 7.2 and 7.5. There's highlighted language there that would require the general manager to get prior board approval or approval of the board president if there wasn't sufficient time before he takes vacation or before he takes administrative leave. And the idea would be that the board may want to ensure that it knows when the general manager is going to be gone in case there's some pressing issue the board anticipates needing to be addressed. And I think the GM can speak to your own thoughts on that provision. It's not something I feel particularly strong about one way or the other, but I thought it was important for the board to make that call and not me.
And I think
It really depends on what-
I
how the
think we
board feels
discussed
about
that
it.
in the last meeting.
I definitely think you should just say something before you don't show up for 3 weeks. But yeah, not a stickler there, but we, just for planning, the staff should know and the board should be aware. And as general manager, you're aware also that we can call you even if you're in Wyoming or something. So yeah, I think that's all understood, that you will let us
So
know.
safe to say that the language could reflect something where the general manager would coordinate his leave as it does something where it doesn't impact the district, but I mean, it's been my practice in the past where if I'd stay informed with the board president, usually out far enough. You're definitely out far enough in a job like this to say, hey, it's going to be 2 weeks I'm taking, and it's 2 months out. I just put it on my calendar, our regular meetings. So it's a known thing. Or if something comes up much more quickly, then that has to happen. But usually that communication can happen with the board president or the board's representative.
Yeah, I can see where the wording is a problem because it says shall be subject to approval. But,
Right.
and I don't want it to be shall be subject to approval. I want the board to be notified, in a responsible way. So however that can be worded in a way.
Notify the board in advance. Should we have a number of days in advance, 2 weeks in advance, or a prior board meeting? I mean, we don't want to be rigid here, but reasonable advance notice.
I like reasonable. I like that, to keep it flexible and not so rulesy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can make, so we'll take out the requirement that says he has to get approval of the board or board president, and substitute that with a requirement that says provide reasonable advance notice, and there's also a provision in there that
If
says
possible.
has to minimize the impact on the district, and
Yes.
we'll leave that in there as well. Okay.
Stuff that good people do, and I think you would have done that anyway, even if we would have put that in there. Okay, and is there any other issue? You said 7.5.
That's administrative leave.
This is the 2 different leaves.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
both vacation leave and administrative. leave
Okay.
applies to it. And reasonableness is going to vary with if it's an urgent topic or if it's we're going to take a couple weeks to go to ballot or whatever, or I've got to be off next week because I've got a family emergency. That would, those notifications, what's reasonable in each case is different, but that's what you and your general manager.
Right.
Reasonable people will come to. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, and I would also like to ask if there are any public comments, although we haven't talked about what specific the salary is. Should we announce that in public?
Yeah, there is an obscure Brown Act requirement that requires there to be a verbal report on the recommendation regarding the recommended compensation and benefits. And so I can make that
Could you,
verbal report, which is that the recommended compensation is $135,000 a year. The vacation is
15?
15 days. Yeah, and then the administrative leave provision there, and then all the other benefits are the same as other district staff,
with the exception, there is no in lieu money.
with the exception that there is no in lieu under the 125 plan.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah.
Because we really encourage people to take full advantage of every health benefit that they can. Okay. Now I will ask you, are there any public comments? I don't see any online. Or is there any comment or discussion from the directors?
No comment, just full support.
Go ahead, again, Director Van Pelt.
I just wanted to offer my full support for Mr. Dreisler and no comment about any of the compensation package, just my full support.
Thank you. We are very excited to have you start, and the start date is July 7th. 6th. Okay, well, Director Van Pelt and I will not be at the next meeting. We'll be Zooming in. But I'll be back in August, but I'm really excited to work with you. And I think that there are a lot of fun, interesting things that you're going to be doing in this district. I think you're going to like it.
Just very briefly, I just wanted to thank the staff and legal counsel and the committee and all the directors for the effort that goes into it. I really appreciate it. And I do know how much effort goes into it from previous experience. So much appreciation to all of you.
Well, welcome aboard.
We need
And
a
as far as
motion.
just,
Yeah.
yes, I was going to check with council here if we need to sign. Do we do the motion? in
There
what
should be a
order?
motion to approve the employment agreement
Okay, and would you like,
with the changes discussed.
Yeah.
And authorize the board president to sign it.
okay, so,
I'll make the motion as stated with the changes discussed.
okay, and do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Double second. I think because of the time difference, I think Director Paddleford beat you this time. So we have a second from Director
So we have a
Paddleford.
motion by
By
Director
Director
Beard
Beard.
and a second by Director Paddleford to approve the appointment of the general manager and the employment agreement. We'll do a roll.
With
the
change,
changes
yes.
as discussed.
Very
And we'll
good.
do a roll call vote. Director Redford,
Aye.
Director Paddleford,
Aye.
Director Beard,
Aye.
Director Jones,
Aye.
Director Van Pelt.
I
Motion passes.
Director Jones, since you're going to be leaving town, you might want to sign the signature page
Yes.
before you leave, and then I'll make the change in the body of the agreement and make the pagination work out. And then I can send the corrected agreement to you for your signature, or have Wendy do that.
I think I might be missing the signature page online.
It might be in front of you.
In front of me.
Yeah, if it's not. Yeah.
This
We
is-
won't let you out of here.
No.
Okay, this is my stuff.
Yeah.
No, I don't have a signature page, but we'll get it before we leave. And now, I have another question of legal counsel. Now, Mr. Dreisler is officially our GM, even though he hasn't started yet. And I don't know what his plan is as far as staying for the remainder of the meeting when we go in closed session. Would it be appropriate for him to stay? Since we're not doing closed session regarding general management stuff.
I don't know if it's a clear answer. I would tend to think not, since he hasn't officially started yet. To have him be in a closed session might not be appropriate.
Okay, well, I was just checking. It'd be a little, like a speed reading kind of thing to get up to date on what we're doing, but I understand what you're saying. We have plenty of time for
And it
that.
would create some complication regarding is he compensated for that time? He's functioning as a general manager in a closed session, but he's not getting paid. So then we start the payment before the start of the contract, and just easier, I think, to not include him.
That's why we have you here. That makes perfect sense to me.
It's the backside of the other one.
Oh, I see. Okay. And should he go ahead and sign this now? while we're on the agenda
Do we
item?
have a copy that doesn't have holes punched in it? Or we don't, okay.
I'll make one though, because I gotta make it for the other stuff.
Okay,
Yeah, if
then
you
let's
can
do
make one
that.
that's just a one-sided copy on just that page, that would be good.
Okay, very good. And then, so number E is annexation fees. So we're not ready to go into closed session anyway.
So we have 2 more items.
Okay. So 7E.
So that, the district sewer code defines how the annexation fees are calculated. And with the west side annexation, back in 2016, we annexed in 423 acres. And so with that calculation, the annexation fee will be $1,639.85. That will become effective July 1st. And then the fee schedule is attached on that.
Okay. Are there any public comments on that? I see none, so I will close the public comment. Do you need the time, Wendy, for that?
What?
The public comment on the annexation. Do you need the time of when I closed it?
Oh, no, because there's no hearing. It's
Okay.
just for approval.
Okay, well, there aren't any public comments. So any questions or comments from staff or the other directors here?
No questions.
Yes, you don't have a question?
No, no questions.
Okay, so in that case, do we have a motion to approve?
The annexation fees.
Yeah, usually the resolution. Oh, I see. So now are we?
It's not done by resolution.
Okay, okay. So is there a motion to approve the annexation fees?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Director Van Pelt has made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Director Beard has seconded. So there was a motion by Director Van Pelt, a second by Director Beard to approve the annexation. Yes.
Effective July 1st,
Yes.
2022. We'll do a roll call vote. Director Redford,
Aye.
Director Paddleford,
Aye.
Director Beard,
Aye.
Director Jones,
Aye.
Director Van Pelt.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, and now we go to 7F, which is our every 30-day adoption of resolution 22-14, authorizing remote teleconference meetings of the district's legislative bodies pursuant to Government Code Section 54953E. So does the staff have any additional report?
So with adoption of the resolution, it will extend the remote teleconferencing from June 15th to July 15th, 2022.
So,
And we will have to have a special meeting in order to continue that 30 days prior to the board meeting.
because I know that Director Van Pelt and I will both not be here, and we would have a quorum. I don't really know how heavy the agenda is going to be in July.
Well, we have to have it before July in order to, it will be big.
But
Okay,
But
but I'm saying
Yeah.
that, it probably is necessary to get that in a special meeting.
So I'm just saying, if I vote no, you're both here. I like that.
No, what it would be is you would risk not having a quorum, that
No,
the
all you-
special meeting can also
All
be.
all you have to do is you have to post it. You could still do it remote. You just have to post
Include it in the agenda.
agenda
Yeah,
and you
how we
have to
used to
allow
do
the
it.
public to come to your location.
Yes,
So,
as it used to be in the good old pre-COVID days.
right.
But anyway, the special meeting, you're in Michigan. I will probably be in Texas by the time of the special meeting, but we can call it and get it done. Okay, so do I have a motion to approve resolution 2214?
I'll approve it.
Our motion.
Okay, Director Redfern reluctantly is making the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Director Van Pelt.
Okay, so we have a motion by Director Redfern, a second by Director Van Pelt to adopt resolution 22-14, authorizing remote teleconference meetings of the district's legislative body pursuant to Government Code Section 54953E. Do a roll call vote. Director Redfern,
Aye.
Director Paddleton,
Aye.
Director Beard,
Aye.
Director Jones,
Aye.
Director Van Pelt.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, and then we're going to go into informational items.
There are none.
Okay, then before we go into closed session, I would like to ask if there is any public comment regarding our closed session. Now it is just regarding labor, which would be
Item D.
D and yeah, just D.
Yeah, 9D.
Yeah, like I said, the language threw me on the labor negotiating.
There's one for the GM there that
Yes.
we did not use.
So, okay, so I don't see anybody seeking to make a public comment. So I would like to go into a closed session. It's 6:46 right now, but we can take a 5-minute break if you need to grab a drink or to shake Mr. Dreisler's hand.
Nate was planning to
Throwing that here.
Nate wasn't planning to go into closed session.
Okay, I didn't know if Nate was on tonight or not.
Nate is not on tonight.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
is that now, this is,
I think we just had it on there in case. I didn't know if he was calling it or not.
okay, so
I-
we don't have an update. Okay,
Well, we have,
Committee wants to address it. but
Yes.
not Nate. Is that all right?
okay, so there'll be.
we'd like you to stay, Rick.
Okay, and, you know, you do need to have a the purpose of the closed session is to give direction to your designated representatives. And we have some designated representatives here, so I guess
Yes.
we can proceed. Okay, okay.
Okay.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Okay.
Happy
Yes, so we've come
Out
out,
of closed session at
7:50 is what I've got. That's a 9:50 to you or 10:50, Bradley?
Where is he?
Oh, he's muted, but
Where is he?
he's in Michigan, so 2 hours.
Yeah, it sounds right, Midwest.
No, I'm in Chicago, but close.
Oh, okay.
Director Jones, I'm very surprised. I don't know where you get your information from, but you know my movements. I applaud you.
Well, you can't see, or yeah, maybe you could, but your mother-in-law was here tonight.
No, I did see that. No, that took me by surprise. I had to confirm with my wife that my mother-in-law was in attendance.
Well, she was going to drive to El Paso with me when I got out of the meeting, but she thought the meeting was on the 22nd.
Yeah.
Enough about me. What do you think of my vacation?
So, any actions where we?
So the report out of closed session is that no reportable action is taken.
Okay, thank you. No reportable action was taken. And at this time, I am seeking a motion to adjourn.
I make that motion.
Ooh, okay, Director Beard has made a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second? Is by Director Redfern.
See y'all later.
Mr. LeBrun, would you like to do a roll call?
Certainly, Director Jones,
Aye.
Director Beard,
Aye.
Director Paddleford,
Aye.
Director Redfern,
Aye.
and Director Van Zant.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank
you spend your time looking for the tracker that I've got on your
I
vehicle. Terry
will.
isn't my source.
I will. All right. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good seeing you guys. I'll see you
You
at the
too.
next one.